Good morning, sixth graders. Yesterday we talked about your plot roller coaster. Today we're talking about subplotting. Think of it as all the twists and turns that might go along with any roller coaster. When it comes to any story, the main plot of the story typically is between the protagonist and the antagonist. The subplots then are those that start to involve that supporting character or characters. It may be their interaction with the protagonist, with the antagonist, or with other supporting characters. Take, for example, The Hunger Games. Here you have the protagonist, Katniss Everdeen, the antagonist, President Snow, and then your supporting character, Peeta Mellark. Peeta has a very large role in the movie. It's not just between your protagonist, your antagonist, the Hunger Games. In fact, Peeta's character ends up taking up even more space in the whole scheme of the plot of the movie just because they have a well-developed subplot. In the movie The Hunger Games, we find out that Peeta is actually in love with Katniss Everdeen. And to complicate matters more, Katniss is told she has to pretend to be in love with him. It's further complicated when we find out not only does Peeta fall in love with Katniss, Gale has also been in love with Katniss. Katniss is in love with Gale, and later on in the trilogy she starts to fall in love with Peeta. And this is typically what subplots do. They add depth and complexity to your characters and really make them seem like real people with complicated issues, desires, and dreams. It also increases the action in your story. A lot of time is spent in The Hunger Games on that interaction between Katniss and Peeta. The next thing it does, it makes your characters in your story more credible. If the characters seem real, if the problems seem real, the story itself seems more real. And the other thing is it helps to support or to drive the main plot. So in Hunger Games, the fact that there's now this complication between Katniss and Peeta, which then makes a complication with Gale as well, that adds to the story and helps to move it along. So then, of course, you have your typical love triangle. He loves her, she loves him, he loves her, she has to pretend to love him, but then later decides she does love him. And if these two guys seem confused, it's because they are. And so The Hunger Games has all sorts of subplots. In addition to the love triangle between Katniss, Peeta, and Gale, then you also have characters like Cinna and Haymitch. Haymitch was a former player who's now assisting them, but later on the trilogy, he becomes more involved, and there are consequences for him as a character. And same with Cinna. He helps Katniss with preparing her costume and getting ready for the games, but he himself then experiences what happens when you go up against the Capitol. All of these subplots help to create that complexity that drives the novel forward and makes all the characters feel realistic. And so your assignment today, it's just 2 workbook sheets. This first part, though, we're literally going to have to ask you to watch some TV. I know, crazy, right? No reality shows. Just, an episode that maybe it's not your favorite show, just something to watch, just to get an idea. You're going to look for several things. Right here. Who is the protagonist? How many supporting characters are there? What are the subplots? You're looking for subplots that involve the supporting characters going after something that they want. It can include the protagonist, but your supporting characters drive the subplot. And then ask yourself, do the supporting characters have their own antagonist? Or are they also battling the protagonist antagonist? On the second page, you'll then consider your supporting characters of your own story that you're going to write. If you want to create more subplots, you can answer the questions on another piece of paper, but they want you to develop the sub-character here and start thinking about what their role in the story might be. So more than anything in the world, they want what? They're afraid of what? They can help the protagonist by, or in their free time, they what? So tell us a little bit more about your supporting characters that you're going to be putting into your novel. And so your assignment for today is this. You do have a bell ringer in there for daily language practice. Then you'll complete the subplotting workbook pages 70 through 71. Be sure to put it in Notability to work on it, and then submit your work to the assignment post in Google Classroom. And then last but not least, think about what subplots that you might want to add to your story. So this is due today. Make sure you have that done, and then we will see you next week. Have a great week.